as I was telling you earlier, my grandparents were born in the small town, village, I guess, in northern Germany. My grandfather was about as Prussian as they come. And his work was as an insurance salesman. So every morning he would take off and walk through the town and knock on its clients' doors and I guess collect the insurance money. I don't really know the details. But they had a lovely home, and about the only family I knew among our Jewish acquaintances who had his own home in the small town. And when we, my father, had the immigration visas and all that, we went to say goodbye. And I remember still driving to their house and having them come out as we were leaving, and the tears were rolling down their faces, and they were standing by this fence. We were in the car leaving, and it was really a sad, sad story, situation. And we left them. We never saw them again. But my grandmother kept writing us, and I have a number of their letters, and my sister has many more of her letters, most of which I can't read very well because they're written in this formal German style that I was taught, but I can't remember how to read very well. And somehow, they managed to stay in their own home until they died. The way the German laws were at the time, Jews couldn't have maids that were non-Jewish. And so the lovely woman who had been working with them for years, they had to leave her go, basically, say, out, finished. And then they took into their house a younger family, somewhat younger than my mother, to stay with them and help them. And so from them we got the news eventually in the 1940s, 1942 or 43, that first one and then the other one had died in the house of sickness or old age. My grandfather at that point had just about reached 90, and my grandmother had just about reached 80. And so remarkably, they were never touched by the Germans. And one of the perhaps myth, perhaps real stories is that my grandfather, whose name was Adolf, like Adolf Hitler, wrote to Adolf Hitler with the following idea. Listen, I was in the Franco-Prussian War. I served Germany, well, Prussia, as a soldier, and therefore I should be considered special. Not only that, my son, Albert, was in the German army, and he was killed during World War I in the first week of the war and buried in Belgium, I guess it was. And that should give me some consideration, you know, from the Nazis. And then some other things about what he had done. And whether this is real or not, I have not checked. I don't know how to check it, actually. I suppose it can be checked through archives, but I haven't done that. But this is the myth as to why they were able to stay in their own house and die in their own house of old age, nothing else. You know, they were never deported or anything. Unlike my wife's mother, who was deported to a concentration camp and unfortunately, unhappily died in a concentration camp. So that's the story I wanted to tell you, know, how very strange, how remarkable it is that my grandparents were able to stay right there. Unfortunately, the house they lived in was destroyed some years later, so I can't really visit it anymore, but their headstones are in the cemetery and very visible.